Hola amigos, welcome to Everyday Spanish with Stephanie. Today we're covering something super important for anyone learning Spanish, the letters and sounds of the Spanish language. Now you might be wondering, Stephanie, why didn't you just say we're learning the alphabet today? Well, I'm glad you asked because we're not just learning the alphabet. We're learning about the letters and their sounds, which is so important because in Spanish, pronunciation is key. Understanding how each letter sounds will help you speak more confident and clearly. Plus, some letters have multiple sounds, so we want to make sure all of our bases are covered. Here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll go over every letter, and then we'll zoom in on some of the trickier letters and their sounds that trip up English speakers. By the end of this video, you're going to have a solid foundation in Spanish pronunciation. Empecemos. Let's get started. All right, let's jump into our Spanish alphabet overview. We'll go through each level, and then I'll give you a sample word to help you remember each sound. Are you ready? Here we go. A, amor. B, beso. C, casa. D, día. E, estrella. F, flor. G, gato. H, hola. Remember, it's silent. I, isla. J, jugo. K, kilo. L, luna. M, mamá. N, noche. Ñ, niño. O, oso. Q, queso. R, rosa. S, sol. T, taco. U, uva. V, vaca. W, whisky. X, xilófono. Y, yo. And finally, Z, zapato. Wow, great job following along. Did you notice how some of the letters sounded different than they do in English? Don't worry if it seems overwhelming. We're gonna actually break down the trickier ones next. But before we do that, let's take a quick break to talk about a tool that can help you really master these letters and sounds. Have you checked out the Unacademy Languages app yet? It's an amazing resource for helping you practice your Spanish pronunciation. The app has interactive exercises that let you hear native speakers saying these letters and sounds, and then you record yourself to hear how you compare. It really is like having a Spanish tutor in your pocket. We'll talk more about it later, but for now, let's break down some of these trickier letters and sounds. All right, amigos, now that we've covered the basics, let's dive into some of those trickier aspects of Spanish sounds and pronunciations. These are the sounds that often trip up English speakers, but don't worry, with a little practice, you'll master them in no time. First up, we have C and Z, or C and Z. Just like in English, se has two sounds, the hard sound k and the soft sound s. The soft sound s and zeta both sound identical to ese. So the word cereza sounds like cereza. But heads up, because both of those sounds in Spain sound more like the th in think. Next, we've got G and J, or in Spanish, G and J. When G comes before the vowels E and I, it's going to make the same sound as J does in Spanish, a sound similar to the English H. So practice by saying the words gente and jirafa. Do you hear how the sounds are similar, even though they're using two different letters? Next, the silent H. H is always silent, no matter what. It doesn't make a sound. So, hola is pronounced hola, just don't say the H. Next, let's talk about the sound made by two L's put next to each other and Y or Y. In most places, they sound the same, like the Y sound found in the English word yellow. So, llama and yo both have the same sound at the beginning of their words. But in some regions, like Argentina, for example, the doble L or double L sounds more like the sh sound. The ñ sound is unique to Spanish. Think of the sound in the middle of the English word canyon. That is how you pronounce the ñ sound. So niño is said niño. Now the rolling R. This one takes practice for sure. Let's start with the single R sound, like in the word pero. It's a quick tap of your tongue towards the top back of your mouth. Pero. Then we have the double R, like in the word perro. This is where you really let your tongue vibrate. Perro. Don't worry if you can't get it right away. This one really takes practice. Lastly, we have X or X. Usually it sounds like X, just like in English. But in some words, especially words deriving from indigenous languages, it can have a sound similar to the English H or the sh sound. For example, the word Mexico is said Mexico. Now, let's practice these sounds with some fun phrases. Repeat after me. El zorro cazó un ratón. The fox hunted a mouse. La jirafa come hojas. The giraffe eats leaves. El niño y la niña llaman a su perro. The girl and the boy call their dog. Great job, everyone. Remember, it's okay if these sounds feel a little strange at first. It's all about practice. The more you practice, the more natural they'll become. Okay, now let's talk about some cultural aspects of pronunciation in Spanish. Did you know that Spanish sounds different depending on where you are? In Spain, that sound that we talked about earlier is really common, but in Latin America, it's more like a s sound. And here's a common mistake that you can remember too. Don't pronounce that final S too strongly. In many regions, the S is softened at the end of a word or even completely dropped. So in some countries, gracias sounds more like gracias. Remember, the goal isn't to sound like a native speaker overnight. It's about making yourself understandable and gradually improving your accent the more you practice. Let's wrap up by emphasizing how important Spanish pronunciation is. Good pronunciation isn't just about sounding like a native speaker. It's about being understood and avoiding misunderstandings. When you pronounce words correctly, you'll communicate more effectively and you'll feel more confident in your Spanish skills. Remember, learning a language is a journey and every step counts. Keep practicing and don't be afraid to make mistakes. It's all part of the process. Before we go, I want to remind you about that amazing tool that can help you master your Spanish pronunciation, the Unacademy Languages app. One of my favorite features is the Speak feature, where you can record yourself and get instant feedback on your pronunciation. Plus, you can listen to native speakers and even engage in conversations that help improve your fluency. To get started, just search for Unacademy Learn a Language in the App Store. Download it and start taking your Spanish skills to the next level. That's all for today, amigos. I hope you found this video on Spanish letters and pronunciation helpful. Keep practicing, stay curious, and remember, every word that you pronounce gets you one step closer to Spanish fluency. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification so you never miss a lesson. And let me know in the comments, what other Spanish topics would you like me to go over? Hasta la próxima, amigos!